So you're planning on exiting your business. How do you go about doing that? Well, it starts with finding an advisor who's experienced, right? Because you only get to leave your business one time. You don't want to mess it up. Today, we're going to talk about the critical questions that need to be asked when you're planning your exit strategy so you could find the right advisor for your situation. Hi, I'm Olivia Kirk.
I'm Tim Urich. We're from Tier 1 Capital, and we're here to show you how to regain control of your money.
There are so many financial advisors out there, and not all of them are the same, right? If they were, we'd all be doing the same job in the same exact way. There'd be no deviation. We'd all be earning the same returns and using the same strategies, right? So when it comes to picking an advisor who's right for you, it really comes down to a few critical questions that need to be asked.
So the first question you need to ask is, does the advisor specialize in exit planning? Because most advisors are only concerned about managing your assets. They want to provide investment advice on the assets that you've already accumulated.
Right, and it's a totally different skill set for the exit strategy, right? So making sure that the business is in a position where it's able to be sold and be able to be sold for the highest price, right? Your blood, sweat, and tears went into this business for however many years building it so it could provide for you, your family, and your community. But when it's time to step back, how do you make sure you're able to recoup your investment for the most amount possible?
And the key is preparing you for that ultimate day when you're going to walk away from your business. Now, here's something that's interesting, that most business owners, 80 to 90% of their wealth is tied up in their business. And when they leave the business, in general, they're only getting 24 cents on the dollar for the value of their business. So clearly, something needs to change in that dynamic, because you're setting yourself up to be in a situation where you may not be able to get the most out of the value of the business from what you've done over the years.
Yeah, and it all comes down to the proper planning. And like I mentioned before, you only get to do this one time. You only get one shot in most cases, unless you're a serial entrepreneur, to leave your business and to leave it and get the most out of it as possible. So you want to have someone on your team who's experienced with this type of situation and who's able to help you navigate these waters.
Yeah, we had a situation where a client of ours, we had been planning with him for 32 years for the exit that he was hoping to have somewhere down the road. Now, 32 years ago, he had no idea what that would look like. But every year, he put money away and we prepared him for that exit. And ultimately, over the past 5 years, I'd say, of his business career, he was getting offers to buy his business. Yeah. And those offers were lowball offers. And he was like, nah. And he was in a position where he could basically reject those offers because his financial well-being in retirement was never going to be predicated on his selling the business.
Exactly. So it all comes down to having money. And when you have that money, you have options, right? When you don't have money, you could be scrambling for it, right? Because you want to get out of the business, you want to retire, and there's only one way to do it, and that's to take an offer that someone's giving you. Whereas when you have money, you're able to negotiate better.
Exactly. Being prepared really puts you in a position where you don't have to jump at the first offer. And by the way, the offer he got was incredible. It was literally over 50% more than the best offer he had received previously. So he had the patience to wait it out for the market to be just right. And that literally put him in a position, him and his family, where now they're in very good shape financially in retirement. The second question you should be asking is, can the advisor show you ways to improve your cash flow so that you can find additional money within your cash flow to direct towards the exit plan? And think about what the dynamics of that is. If you understand what we're saying here, basically there's money within your cash flow that might be being utilized inefficiently. And if we can redirect that cash flow to fund your exit plan, it doesn't have to come out of your current expenses.
Right. The first step is to have that awareness that, hey, I'm going to want to exit my business one day. But that doesn't necessarily solve the problem, right? So the awareness of the problem isn't going to give you the solution to the problem. In fact, it may impose another problem, and that's that you don't have the money to fund the solution. And that's the case in most people's situation. But having an advisor who is able to step back, look at your position from a different perspective, perhaps through the perspective of control and getting your money to do multiple duties. So a dollar that was only performing one job is now able to do that job plus possibly fund that succession plan, that exit plan is going to be a good thing because you're going to be able to achieve two goals with $1.
And that's really important. And the other thing is, we had a situation where a client wanted to do his exit plan. He was 64 years old, hadn't done any planning previously. When we told him that it's going to basically cost about $20,000, $25,000 per month to set up this exit strategy, he's like, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, well, I've already looked at your financials. You have over $20,000 of recurring revenue that is being utilized inefficiently. If I can show you those areas and prove to you that they're being utilized inefficiently, would you put that money towards your exit plan? Absolutely, he said. And that's exactly what we did. We found over $20,000, about $22,000 per month of recurring revenue that was being utilized inefficiently. It was things like debt. It was things like inefficient planning. It was things like taxes. And we literally designed a plan to redirect that money to create his exit strategy, as well as take care of all the issues that money was previously taking care of. But the key is we found, and we were creative enough to find the money within their current cash flow to fund their exit strategy.
Right, so the answer isn't always as simple as reducing overhead or increasing revenue. There are other ways to look for inefficiencies within a business cash flow that can be utilized to achieve a huge goal like the exit planning strategy.
Exactly. The next question you should be asking of your advisor is, what is their position on debt? Because 70% of small businesses have some form of debt. And not being versed in the debt strategies could really be a hampering point when you're looking at setting up an exit strategy. And the key is there's good debt and bad debt. And what we try to do is analyze your debt situation and maximize the efficiency of your debt service. And there's another way that you could literally improve the efficiency of your money and your cash flow.
Right, so most business owners don't want that burden on their shoulders of the debt service, right? So they'll pay as much as possible and direct as much revenue and cash flow as possible towards that debt. But what it may be doing is actually holding you back, right? Because by putting all of that money in one bucket, you no longer have money left over to fund the things that actually matter and the things that are leaving you exposed in the long term.
Exactly. The next question you should be asking is, what is the advisor's attitude on risk? And specifically, are they recommending strategies for your exit that actually increase the amount of risk that you're taking with those strategies?
I don't know about you, but when I'm doing planning, I want a plan from A to B that's going to work no matter what, right? Because otherwise, what's the use of doing a plan, right? I don't want to risk my way to a possible reward. I want to make sure that, especially with something as precious as a business, that I'm able to achieve the goal that I'm diligently aiming to achieve.
Yeah, so what we have found is there's a lot of advisors in the exit strategy space who are recommending strategies that increase the amount of risk that are predicated on financing, to set up your exit strategy? Well, obviously, if you're taking on additional debt to fund your exit, I don't know if that's always going to be the best case scenario for you.
Yeah.
The other thing is they're recommending products that literally pass risk back to you. And that's not a good situation. So we have seen those situations, and we've been able to call attention to those situations, whether it's a strategy or a product or both, that are adding additional risk to your situation that you may not even be aware you're taking on risk.
Yeah, it all comes down to that awareness and knowing what you're doing and making sure that your advisor is aware what you want and how you want to achieve your goal of exiting the business. If you'd like to learn more about how to put these strategies to work for you and if we're the right fit for your business exit strategy, visit our website at tier1capital.com to schedule your free consultation today. Also, if you like this video, be sure to check out these two. We picked them out special for you.
Thank you so much for watching our video. And remember, it's not how much money you make.
It's how much money you keep that really matters. We'll see you in the next one.